Good morning. This is Gaming Perspectives with
Saul
and Jolene. And today we're talking about AI in tabletop RPGs.
Something like that.
What a crazy topic.
What a crazy topic. Yes, AI has been around, well, really 2 or 3 years, people really using it. And of course, there's an impact on RPGs, right? There's art, there's creative writing, ideas, or whatever people use AI for.
I think you already talked about this about art, didn't you, in some episode?
Probably mentioned it.
Because you really have opinions about this stuff.
Oh, boy, do I have opinions. No, I mean, yeah, of course, everybody does. But anyway, this came across because we were watching...
I was watching Jenny D.
Jenny D.
Is that her name?
I think
Green
so.
hair.
Green hair, blue hair?
Green, blue hair.
Anyway, she started as a cosplayer, right? Who knows? Anyway, so Jenny D obviously is a...
I like listening to her D&D videos, so it's pretty funny.
She's a D&D player, YouTuber, and has become very popular and famous.
And she was talking about, it was just a talk about she saw that you could get somebody to write your backstory on Fiverr.
Yeah, on Fiverr.
Which is a place where writers can get freelance work, like crowdsourcing.
Oh, is it specifically just for writers, or
I don't know, dude.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
You're asking me questions that I have no clue.
Yeah, so I had never heard of Fiverr myself. That's why I was wondering.
Okay. Anyway, so she did this episode on seeing if she paid a small amount, a medium amount, and a large amount, how good the backstories would be.
Oh yes, I gotcha.
On for your character
backstory.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah, because I can understand that. Sometimes, I mean, it depends on how many games you play. If you are playing a lot of one-shots with people and you're making characters, you don't want to... You can kind of get in a rut and making the same kind of characters and all that. I'm
just going to tell you, of all the people that I know, I doubt any of them would pay $5 to have someone make a backstory for them.
Our group, no. No, definitely not.
I can't see Morgan or Sip or Mike or Felipe.
Anybody. Yeah. When I could do it for free myself.
When you could come up, yeah. But I think it was an interesting idea. So she went ahead and she did it. And she discovered when she went for the most expensive one, which was $60, that the person, like, when they emailed her back, she goes, this doesn't look like, looks like an AI kind of.
To her, it seemed kind of sketchy. Yeah. Or there was some, what do you call it, trepidation as to what was going on there.
And this just... it was a red flag for me when I was looking at it on the screen because the person was from Nigeria, and I'm not against anyone from Nigeria. I'm just saying that's where all those princes are from.
Yes.
So anytime I see email or anything online, any reference to Nigeria, and it was $60 versus $5 from this one guy.
Yes.
And I'm like going, well, one, I would never pay $60 to have someone write a backstory for me.
No, that's a lot of money.
2 pages, right?
I think 2 or 3 pages was what Jenny D was telling them.
Anyway, so she confronted the person and said, I think that you are using AI. Are you using AI? And the person, first they admitted it in a little way. They said, it is one of the tools or something like that.
Yeah, very general kind of answer.
And then she goes, well, then I want my money back. And they said, no. And I'm like, oh,
you can't have your money back.
Anyway, so then she went on, she goes, fine, I'll let them do it. And she was going to contest it with Fiverr and have them like put in a report that
but the person, I think there was a person there somewhere along the way, right?
Yes.
And the person said something along the lines of, just let me give you the product and then you can go from there.
Which was very interesting because, and when she did get the product, it was obviously done by AI. I don't even know if the person checked it or anything or knew anything about D&D. It was very detailed about some of the cities like Neverwinter, Baldur's Gate.
Yes.
And different places in it, but it was so detailed that it was like if I was to look up something, that's the end. That's what you would get.
Well,
right?
Well, it was weird, and Jenny D, like she's my personal friend. She did pick up on the fact that it was like name dropping all kinds of names.
It was using names. It was using places
and times
and time. Oh, and it even had a year,
yes.
Which in a backstory, unless you know the year of where you're playing, you wouldn't put that in there,
right? So it seemed kind of sketchy, and you noticed there's some tells supposedly if you use ChatGPT supposedly, especially that one, that there's the way it decides to write or answer the messages or the prompts that you ask. It uses a lot of I forget. It's like a hyphen. They use a lot of hyphen words, but they don't call it that in grammar school, whatever.
Hyphenated words?
No, not hyphenated. Yeah, but it's a hyphenated word, but it's like a double. It's a little line that's 2 spaces long instead of just one.
Okay, I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about.
They were talking about it on some.
All I can think of is
article.
an umlaut, but you put that over something.
Yeah, no, it's not the umlaut. We're not all Swedish or Nigerian.
Anyway, so and she wasn't so upset that they were. I don't think she was so upset that they were using AI. I mean, she was in a way, but what really got her upset was that they said they weren't. So they were lying about it,
Yeah.
which is totally true. If you're going to use AI, you should tell people.
It.
Yeah,
Right. I agree.
I can honestly say that I have used AI for. I wrote them down. I used it for Shadowrun when I was trying to come up with
NPCs. He said.
Well, I wanted specifically, I wanted a magic user, and I wanted the spells and stats for them, and I didn't want to take the time to look it up because my game was the next day, and
Oh yeah, typical game master.
so I did that, and I also used it as for a description of a building, and because in Shadowrun it's always like a corporate building, right?
Right.
So I wanted a good description of it, and that's what AI is good for, right? Putting stuff together.
Right. I've used it for making NPCs in
And-
Shadowrun.
Yeah.
'Cause I was like, oh, I don't want to make a
I have
character.
also used it for 2. I play in a lot of RPGs, people. So I used it for 2 backstories.
Really?
I knew it was AI when I was using it.
Of course.
And I just put in what I would like an idea for this. And so it gives it to you, right? But then if you know anything about AI, you got to look at everything it spits out at you, and you have to modify it and rewrite stuff and make it sound like what you want. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, because sometimes.
But and honestly, I didn't get paid for any of that stuff, so it's just my personal use, right, for something that I needed for a game.
But because it's a machine, and it's the way it works. Sometimes it does spit out some odd combination of words that may or may not make sense, right? At least the few times that I've used it, sometimes it comes out with some stuff that like, what the heck is it?
I found that it's very long on description because
Yeah.
that's what it has to pull from.
It's a little
right?
wordy.
It's very wordy, but I mean, if you're using it for your own personal character or something, and you want ideas, and you don't want to bounce it off of someone, or you don't have someone there to bounce it off of,
Right.
why not? You're not. I know you're. Before you start talking about people paying money or anything,
Yeah.
I would say that for your own personal use, or even for your game table, if you want to create NPCs or something, that's fine, as long as you're not charging money for them or something.
Right, exactly. But as a GM, if you don't need, let me see, if you don't have the time to make NPCs, especially if it's like a one shot or something, or you're pressed for time, and because making characters by hand in certain systems, it takes a while. Shadowrun takes a while, and other systems, like there's some pretty obscure games, but there is a game called Heroes of the Now or Heroes in the Next, which is a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle clone.
Yeah.
And it's a very long process to make your character, because there's this, it just is, trust me. And to make I wouldn't say throwaway NPC, but NPCs to counter the heroes or the players in this game, it'd be really arduous task, right? Because it's not made, the character creation is not made for a quick, easy creation. And because of that, actually in the back of the book, there's some quick already made things, like if you need a street thug, a street ninja, gang member, and all these other things that there's already made.
It's already there. Well, I know that Alan and I have both used the John
Yes. The dungeon maker.
The dungeon maker, and it does characters too. Alan May.
Yeah.
He did it for his games because I showed him.
Oh, he ran games.
Yeah.
I didn't know he ran a game.
But if you want to make your own dungeon and you don't want to get out a piece of paper and figure it out, how
to do
draw
it by hand.
it out,
Yeah.
you can get a program that does it for you. And there's all kinds of character creation programs that you can use.
Yes.
for Shadowrun, it's a little bit harder to find already made characters. Although
Yes,
I know you can.
you
I
can
know
do
people have pulled them off of you can pull them off of things like I'm sure people sell them, or you can find it online for free.
Well, there's a character creations software by Lone Wolf that you got to pay. It's not cheap, and it does cover Shadowrun 5th edition. AD.
We used that, didn't we? You got that one?
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
I paid for all the books.
But it's pretty hard to do.
It is
still.
not easy.
It's like, there's one, I want to say it's called Chummer. Or something like that.
That is just basically a database.
That was like when we first did our characters,
Yes.
and that was really hard. So I can see using a character generator, a dungeon generator, or AI, because it'll tell you the same thing. I used it for the description of a building. That would be like using a dungeon creator or whatever.
Especially like if you just wanted it to be different than if you have if you're always being a GM, sometimes it is kind of hard to come up with something distinctive or something different, so you could easily use it for like a quick description of a building.
Yeah,
I totally understand that. Or even like an environment, just to make it sound not plain, if you want something a little bit more distinctive.
or you want to bounce your ideas off of something that is not one of your players that's going to be in your game, right?
Exactly. And a lot of times, a lot of our friends who would
we would talk to about it,
who would understand, are in our games, right? And I'm not going to go to work and talk about my character building or ideas, or when people are just going to look at me like I'm from Planet Zebo.
Especially where you work.
Okay, don't tell them when I work. So I look at me going, Saul, I have no idea what you're talking about, and nor do I care. So you're right. I totally understand people using it for that kind of endeavor for yourself, right? But this guy from Nigeria,
I think it was a lady.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
It was a letter and then the last name.
Yeah.
Like C. Writer or something.
Yeah, no, that was not the name.
That was not the name. Well, whatever. But it was funny because the person kept saying, "I'm not using AI," right? And it was very adamant about it. And then Jenny D, who was doing the questioning, she would ask questions and it would come back with a very AI-like answer.
Yeah.
It was real troubling for Jenny D. And then also in the end product, there was also some problems with what she got for her $66 or whatever it was.
Well, I did use ChatGPT to work on a bard song.
Oh, yeah.
Because I wrote out everything that happened.
Yes.
And I was trying to put it into a song, and I go, I am so boring. This is like I have all the facts.
Yes.
Just the facts, ma'am.
The facts.
And so I'm like, well, I want to know what it would sound like if a bard was singing it. So I asked the AI to give that to me, and it did. But then it took me like a long time, like a day, to go through it to get it to be really to make it so that it made sense, because it caught all the stuff that I was saying, but it didn't spit it out in the way that made it sound different than what actually I put in.
Right.
So it was a very interesting and difficult experiment to try to do it that way.
Yeah.
I did get it to sound the way I wanted it to, but it was a lot more work than you would think using something to help you.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, it wasn't like you just told it the parameters and it spit out a complete finished product that was acceptable.
Yeah.
Right.
No, then I had to spend a day figuring out if that really, how to make it sound right and that kind of thing.
Well, they say that people who use AIs, which LLMs, which is language something. Anyway, that you got to learn how to, they call them prompts, right?
Yes.
How to ask a good prompt for that machine to figure out what you're looking for, and the more better.
Specific you are.
The more specific and the better you are at it, at describing what you're looking for, the better the results. But if you're like not used to it, and I'm sure you could catch on to it pretty quickly, that you could learn to tell the computer what you want and how you want it.
Yeah, but I think for each AI is a little bit different, and then you have to know what you want a general prompt, and then you want it to go more specific and more specific.
Yes.
And then no matter what you do, you still have to go through it and make sure that you're getting what you want. Because if you think, oh, well, if you're too tired, this will work, and not look at it, it's inevitably something is going to be not correct or outright wrong, or it's not going to sound good.
Right. But you're talking about personal stuff. You're talking about like coming up with descriptions for a building for in your game,
Yeah.
making NPCs. You're not talking about having a business and selling this stuff as a creator, right?
No, definitely
Which,
not.
I mean, and some people will use AIs to get out of their writing ruts, or what do you call that when there's a blank page?
Writer's block.
Yeah, stuff like that, right? If you could just get just the ball rolling. And a lot of times, we've discussed that many times, that when we were in college, it was almost easier when the professor would tell you, I want you to write a book. I want you to write an essay on the 1960s civil rights movement, instead of saying, okay, I want you to write something about the 20th century events
You're like going,
from
wait.
1902 to the present.
Can
You're
you please give me more information?
Can you narrow it down for me a little bit? So that is the kind of stuff that I would use it for, is to just put
Or
things
ideas.
better in my head, or,
Yeah.
or narrow it down in my
Give you
head.
some ideas that maybe you hadn't thought of.
Right. And some angles.
Or tell it what your ideas are and see what it comes back with. Right. This is what I would like to do, but you're that, like, for your games and stuff, because sometimes people have a hard time coming up with what's going to happen on the next game, on the next week, right?
Oh, yeah.
If you're in a campaign or whatever, if you're not reading it out of a module
Right.
and you're just coming up with it yourself. I mean, most people, if they, and I'm going to say 80% of GMs are going to run into a time crunch sometime when they're running a game.
Sooner or later, yeah.
And might need somebody to help them to bounce ideas off of, or
Right.
get some inspiration that
Right.
isn't playing in your game.
That isn't in your game, yes. And will give you some advice, or some, at least a knowledgeable
It'll spit back
answer.
stuff to you that can make your creativity start.
Or actually just help you, right?
Yeah.
Because like I said, I talked to somebody at work.
Well, that's what
I'm like,
I knew.
99.9% of the people would like look at me like,
I knew that because I had read that Chat GPT, and this was a couple of years ago when I did the Shadowrun thing. I knew that it had the databases of all of the gaming books. Maybe not all the gaming books, but quite a few
it had to. Yeah.
gaming books. Because when I asked it a question about Shadowrun, it knew what I was talking about, and it told me about being a mage. And I go, oh, you do know what I'm thinking, oh, you do know what I'm talking about. This is what I need. Can you give me examples of this? And I want an NPC that is this kind of a mage, and I want spells like this, because I knew what the bad guys were, because they were my bad guys. But I wanted someone to be able to help because the wizard wasn't going to be there, so I needed an extra
Gotcha.
player, right? And I didn't want to take the 4 hours to create a character. So those are the kinds of things you're going to come up with time things that this might be helpful for you on a personal basis.
And it's not like we haven't bought the books for Shadowrun.
Oh no,
or
I
any
have all of them.
Yeah, well, quite a bit of them. And
For 5th edition,
for
I
fifth
think.
edition,
Yeah,
right.
all of them.
So it's not like we're cheating and getting away with asking the AI to give us information about rule books or about PDFs that we haven't bought,
Right.
or games I haven't bought. I don't think I've ever done anything like that. So I think it is a tool, right? That's that's ultimately is the thing about AI, is that it's a tool, and like all tools, it could be used for good
Or evil.
or evil, right? So I don't think a lot of people really understand how it works, because even I don't understand exactly how it works,
But I think a lot of people have an opinion on
Yes.
whether you should or shouldn't use it,
or how you should,
or how you should and shouldn't use it.
right?
Which I found really interesting when I went on to Reddit to see what people were actually saying about it.
Okay.
It
And
varied.
it varied.
Well, there was a couple GMs that are like, I use it, I run the game, leave me alone. If you don't like it, get out of my table. And there were a couple of GMs that said, if I find out that you used AI to create your character, you're not going to be playing at my table.
Wow.
And then there were people in between. And then there was somebody who, and I hadn't thought about this, who was very upset about it being environmentally a detriment to the earth, which I'm like going, I realized now, once I heard that it does take up a lot of power.
Right. Those data centers are huge.
I was like, and she goes, I will never play in anybody's game that uses AI because it's destroying the world. And I'm like going, and I'm thinking Sarah Connor. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay.
We're getting there. Skynet, I believe it was called. Yeah, I understand that kind of mentality because I don't want to get to economics or anything like that, but they do use a lot of electricity, and it does. I think in certain areas, and I think every area that they put one of the, because I guess they take up an enormous amount of energy, and just like basic economic supply and demand, if there's a huge demand, then the prices of whatever your demand is going to go up. And I think a lot of places in wherever they put these big, huge data centers are complaining about, they promise all these jobs and stuff like that. And then on the back end, they're like, yeah, but our electricity bill just went up $600.
Okay, I live in California, and I have PG&E, so I'm just telling you right now that it doesn't matter. PG&E is going to raise your rates no matter what. And this is true. I'm not lying about it.
Yes. So, but anyway, barring that kind of thing about the environment and about the cost of electricity, it is a tool that anybody can use to help them run their game or help them get ideas for their game. I think when it becomes like, I think there was a situation where this person was paying a GM to run a game.
Yes, you came across that one.
Yeah.
You were telling me about it, and you saw it on Reddit where their group was paying this guy $25 each to run a game for them.
And he also gave him a offline.
So it was obviously on a VTT, and then in between they were doing emails.
Right.
So the guy on Reddit goes, this guy's emails are AI.
Yes.
And he was very upset because he was paying this guy $25 for every session to run the game. And I can understand why he would be upset because the guy didn't tell him that this was part of the package.
Right. And then what happened is that offline, it was just the person was asking questions about the world or about what was going on. The person answered him back and he's like, this is really odd. The phrasing is odd. And then even when I read it, it sounded very flowery language, right? And the person goes, he doesn't normally write that way or talk that way when he's in the game,
right?
But when in the written word, and so he actually cut and pasted the stuff on there, omitting the guy's name, the handle, And people were going, "Oh yeah, dude, that's AI." I wasn't sure, except some certain senses didn't make sense. But I've written stuff where it's a fragment, or I forgot to put the noun or something, or the verb, or it doesn't match all this other stuff.
Grammar police came after you?
No, because there was nobody in my group is the grammar police. But it doesn't. People go, "What does this mean?" And like, "Oh, I forgot a word." Because I was typing too fast. I mean, I'm just talking in general, right? And so I could see where people who are, let's say this guy's a GM and he's getting all these emails from different people, because that's not the only table he has. He probably runs on different nights, and it's his job, maybe. I don't know. And this person is typing all kinds of stuff, replying to these people who are asking questions. They might omit a word or not use the correct grammar. But according to the experts on Reddit.
The experts on Reddit.
Experts, and I am using air quotes. They were saying, "Oh yeah, this guy is using AI." And they pointed to certain typical AI type of a way of phrasing things. And so he was upset because the person hadn't said anything about AI, and he told him he kind of pasted this person's description of how he runs games. Created solely by me and tailored to your group and all of this stuff.
Well, see, there's where the bad stuff comes in, right?
Right.
If you're going to use AI and you're getting paid to run a game for people, you need to disclose that.
Right.
Because otherwise they're going to get really upset with you.
Well, some people might get upset. I mean, it depends on why those people are there. If they're really, into their game and they're like, wow, we really like this guy, the way he runs the game and whatever, right? Yeah. It's worth their money. But if they find out that the GM is just basically using the ChatGPT to run the game for him, because you can do that nowadays. I think those language learning machines are. I've gone to the point where you could tell it, I want to play in a Shadowrun 5th edition game, and I want you to run it for me. And so you could actually
you could do it on a one-on-one basis with
one-on-one.
with chat.
You don't have a group,
But you could do that, but I'm thinking you might need to write some kind of workflow or something for that.
I have no idea. I've never done it, but I've heard that you could do it, and it comes up with some weird. In those cases, where people believe it's this person is creating it and is creating it for you and is using their brain, then I may or may not take umbrage at the fact that you're really and again it depends on how much they're utilizing the AI. Are they using it totally AI? Is the campaign made by this AI thing, or is he just using, like you said, some descriptions that he wants to change?
Yeah, and I mean,
we don't know.
I don't know. I'm going to tell you this one though, that if people are using AI to create their games or their scenarios for a game,
right,
and run it that way,
right,
it's going to be very mediocre because AI takes all of the information that it has and it spits it back at you, right? So it'll be filled with tropes and different things because
Definitely.
it may not be as creative as something that Saul comes up with to run a game, or an idea that hits somebody about some mystery that they could run. I think someone on Reddit explained it. If you're in school and they're teaching for the exam that you have to take every year,
oh yeah,
the CBEST or whatever it's called, then that's what the teachers are teaching. They're teaching at the kids that need the help to learn it.
Yes.
Whereas you're sitting there going, I learned this 3 years ago. Why are you still telling me?
Well, that's a big problem in education. They're trying to figure out what to do. I don't know how they handle it.
I didn't mean to get you on a tangent. I'm just saying that.
I don't know. You're right. I don't know how it was done before, but you're right. When you are specifically asking things, and that's what you're looking at, then you're not going to get anything.
You're not going to get anything new,
right?
Because it's there. Maybe you haven't seen it before, but it's there. So it might be new to your group, but it's not going to be something new. Because AI can't come up with its own ideas. It just goes through the banks, the memory banks, or it's the code, and it finds what other things are saying, or whatever you give it.
It's like magic. It's like a Magic 8 Ball.
Magic the Gathering?
Magic 8 Ball. Will I eat fries today? Maybe so. So I think we are, I don't know, I think we're like pretty easy on AI people, right? Who are using AI. If you're using it like personal stuff, if you're using it for games with your buddies, seems fine.
Yeah.
I think where it starts hitting the gray area is if you're getting paid, and then how much are you using this tool to run your games?
And I think it's fine if that's what, as long as people know that you're doing that.
Yes, as long as they know.
And they're okay with it. Because one, I wouldn't pay anybody $60 to create a character background for me. Two, I wouldn't want pay AI $60 to do it, or somebody else is getting the money and AI is doing it. I mean,
right.
And then the background that it came back with was like 8 pages long.
It was crazy.
8 or 10 pages long, and it was totally descriptive and
overwritten.
It was way
very verbose
with all kinds of stuff like plots and everything, like getting like it was the preface in a book that you were gonna start writing or something.
Right, and that's what she said, is that it seemed more like a treatise on a first page of the prologue.
That's what I said.
Prologue to a book where it's telling you all this information, but for role playing purposes, there's not enough. It's
like it was telling you what you could either use it as an outline for the book or the jumping off point of this is what happened and here we go.
Exactly, and I think that was a major point of contention, is that she wanted a backstory for information that the GM could use, that she could use to add to the game, and use the backstory for her character's goals and her drives and stuff like that. And it wasn't that, because the AI had written stuff that
the AI was tying it up.
Yes,
because it didn't know any better. It doesn't know what it means to leave something open for the GM to be able to use from your character's backstory.
Or maybe the person writing the prompt didn't put that in.
Well, that also was one of the things I noticed, besides that they were from Nigeria, was that they had D&D as like the last tag on their thing, but they were more like a different kind of writer. It wasn't, they had never played a game or anything that they said on there, right? Where the guy that charged $5 to do your backstory was like, I run D&D, I do this, blah blah blah. And the girl that charged like $15, she was like, this is I've run D&D, I've played in D&D, I would like to make a characters for you, right?
Right. Yeah. The person who was really expensive and from Nigeria, their description of who they were, their bio, was very general.
Yeah.
Like, I will do these writing purposes of treaties for you, blah blah blah. And I think you do get what you pay for in that sense. But that guy who she paid $5, it was pretty cool.
It was very good. Yeah.
And I think it was very good. And he took, I think
it was a template.
What was his name? Speed McAllister or something like that?
Speed something. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was a guy. But he wrote it and he presented it like it was a page out of the book.
Yeah.
Because he had the template of the writing of the Dungeons and Dragons logo and stuff, or at least just what do you call it? The font, and stuff, and the page, the way it was set up. It was very D&D book like. So I thought it was pretty cool. I thought those were nice touches. That obviously he runs a lot of games,
and he even wrote a spell for her.
Yeah, that was pretty cool too.
But he said to make sure you check with your GM before you try to use it. Make sure it's okay.
Nah, they're not gonna care. So we were going to talk about art, but like you said, we've kind of already touched on art before. I think
you were going to talk about art. I don't have art written down other than we already talked about it.
Well, the other thing I was going to say is I understand people like me who are not published and stuff like that, and maybe want to get into get their stuff published. And one of the biggest costs is probably like the layout. Somebody who will actually put in the right form that is presentable to the eye or pleasing to the eye and make sense and stuff like that, putting the pictures where they should be. And then there's the art itself, right? So
I'm just going to tell you that Saul has several artists that he knows, and he's asked them to make art for him, and he's had a hard time. I mean, some of them get it right back to him, but some of them, they're mostly his family, have a hard time getting it back to him in a timely manner. And they have lives, right? But he goes, I could pay you, and not a lot, but a little bit, right?
So and it's not enough.
It doesn't matter.
It's not enough for them to do
to drop everything and do it. Because
I wouldn't say even drop everything, to take the time out of their busy lives
because they have a lot of stuff that they're doing, right?
Right. Raising children.
So getting artists to create stuff for your RPG that you want to publish is going to be probably one of your biggest expenses unless you know someone who does it and you can get them to do it like over the weekend or something,
or in a timely manner. Artists can take time because they have to create stuff, right?
Yeah.
So they could have a mental block, or they could have a lot of work to do from
or they
people
could have
who are
kids
paying
and
a lot
other
of money
things like that
and stuff like that. And me just trying to publish something on my own and getting art that I think is better than
what you could draw.
Art. Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. I will probably use stock art before I do something that I drew, but that is a problem. So I understand a creator, especially if you're just a writer and not an artist. There's some people who do both, right? But I have no artistic ability. Ask anybody that knows me. Even my stick figures turn out wrong. But anyway, so wanting art and getting it and not being able to afford it, I don't know what they would say, but I understand people who use AI art as a shortcut to get their stuff done.
But you disagree with it completely.
But I think like if you go to Drive-Thru RPG, it'll say how was now they added a section or a little thing when you on the description of the product and how many pages and all that stuff. It'll ask who made it, how was this made,
right?
And a lot of people leave it blank, but some people say it was used a 100% human thing.
Right.
And other people say AI was used in some aspects of this thing. And in the art, they'll say the
artist name
the art was done by AI.
Yeah. Well, but see, that's what you want. You want them to tell you,
and then you can make an
informed decision. And then you can decide whether you want it or not.
Right. Because I bought something that I it was a PDF. I didn't buy a book, and it was,
imagine that.
And it was. I haven't played that game yet. You're right. And I think I was just interested in like in a spy game kind of thing, modern spy game. I guess I could have used Top Secret, but this one seemed really interesting, and I do like percentile systems, so I was really interested in it, and it sounded pretty cool. I think the person was Spanish, and then I didn't realize that he used AI art until after I had bought it.
And did you feel bad?
that I feel bad.
Did you feel taken advantage of?
No, because I just didn't look. And then it wasn't until much later that I was looking at his supplements, and I'm like, something about the art was kind of like, it was.
There was an extra arm somewhere.
No.
I'm kidding. That's a trope.
Yeah. Too many fingers. Yeah. And so I just looked at it. I go, man, what's all? I mean, some artists draw funny, right? But I was just a little bit confused, and then I looked at the artist, and they didn't have anything. And then at the very bottom of the description of the page of the product, it said AI was used throughout this
AI art
project.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then he put in, he had a little paragraph. He goes, I wish I could use a real artist, but it's not in my budget.
Right.
And
at least he was honest about it, right?
I think I contacted somebody. I contacted somebody about doing art for me, and it was
like $1,500 or something.
It was like $700 for 6 pieces of art.
That's not bad.
It's not terrible, but it to me it sounded like a lot of money up front.
Yeah.
For
something that you may or may not make money on.
May or may not. Well, I'll probably not even break even right at this point, right? But you're right. I think it's something that you have to consider. And I'm like, okay, this is a professional artist in my book. If they're doing consignment work, I guess professional would mean that you live off your art. No. As long as you get paid, you're professional, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, but I do understand that there's a lot of artists out there who will do consignment art. I don't know where you'd find them. I haven't really looked for it because I just put out a thing saying, I'm thinking about. I think it was on Reddit, and this person contacted me. It wasn't the other way around.
Well, see, that's how artists get their work,
right? And then, but I think there is some places or websites where artists are just like making art or doing examples. This is what I do, and I'm available for commissions, right? But you got to look through all their stuff and see if it agrees to your personal taste and to the project that you're working on.
Or if you're like Saul, you ask your friends that are artists,
yes,
and your nieces, and then you just try to get it from them, and you pay them when they give it to you.
It's not working out too good. I've been working on this project for like a year and a half, probably. Well, I was sidelined for a
little
months.
bit. Yeah,
but yeah, right. I think that is the situation. I understand why people would want to use AI art, but at the same time, there's a lot of hardworking artists out there who are losing jobs because of this.
Yes.
Right? We had a friend who had a commission for a piece of art, a logo for their store or something. She did it, like an example of it. They go, oh, okay, and they were going to, according to the contract they signed, is if they use that art, if they made her go with that art and use it, then they were going to pay her a lot of money.
But then they decided not to, and then then they just used her design and went to AI.
Yes, they decided to use AI to change the art, and she was
out. She didn't get paid at all.
Right. And so now she signs a contract that if that anything she makes, and then they use it, whether however in the contracts, you still pay her if you're going to use her
any part of it.
Right. She was brand new. She just graduated from college, so it's a live and learn, especially in this day and age of AI art being out there quite a bit. So I think artists are in a tough bind, and that's why I'm willing to give out some shekels for people who are willing to help out a person who's just trying to.
Should be careful. He literally means shekels.
No, I'm not sure what a shekel is. I will say denarius, but that's
we might have some of those under the sink somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere under the sink. Anyway, so like anything that's a tool, I think you have to be careful how you use it, and definitely if you use it, you have to disclose it if you're selling something.
If you're using it to create an NPC, you don't have to tell your players. If they might ask you, and if they do ask you, just be honest.
Yeah. Right.
There you go. So there you go. This is Gaming Perspectives with
Saul
and Jolene.
And you have a good day.